Right, hello everyone, and welcome to today's Two Saints show with myself, Mark C, and my co-host, Mark H. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to getting into today's show. Plenty of meaty topics to get into. No doubt it will be a feisty one today.
Absolutely.
And, hello to the listeners. I hope you're all looking after each other and staying safe and everything else. And yeah.
Absolutely. Before the Two Saints go marching in again, just a quick reminder, we've got our Facebook page, Two Saints Show. You can message us directly on that Facebook page and request our podcast sent to you directly by messaging us there. You can also go onto our YouTube channel, the Two Saints Podcast Show on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. And feel free to leave any comments you want to leave, negative or positive. We thrive on your comments and your feedback. We can't do things without you. So moving on from there, before we get going today, I'll let you know what's coming up in the show. And we have in today's show, Two Saints review of Saints versus Arsenal, and Watford versus Saints, Saints club news, other football news, Saints transfer news, and Two Saints preview of Saints versus Man City.
Fiesta FM Southampton 95.0 FM.
The following program contains language, views, and opinions that may be unsuitable for some listeners. This is not necessarily a view or judgment of Fiesta FM, its management, other hosts, or advertisers. The show is for entertainment purpose only and is not intended to defame, insult, or offend anybody in any shape or form whatsoever. Listeners are advised to exercise caution in their own environment when listening to the show.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints show.
So, welcome back, everybody. Right, kicking off things off today, Two Saints review of Saints 0, Arsenal 2. Disappointing, I thought, Mark, off the back of the Norwich game. Couldn't make too much of the Norwich result, obviously, because Norwich were bottom of the table. But I felt our intensity wasn't really there against Arsenal. Didn't seem to be pressing the ball very well. And if anything, Arsenal caught us at our own game, didn't they? And obviously, a couple of absolute howlers from our goalkeeper didn't help, did they?
No. I mean, all I would say about the game, from my point of view, was that Arsenal basically played us at our own game. They were pressing us. We didn't look like we were necessarily pressing them. Yeah. We had the goalkeeping show wasn't great. I mean, ball distribution for the first one. Obviously, the Arsenal player picks the ball up, goes past the goalkeeper, slots it in the back of the net. And then for the second one, obviously sells people short. Højbjerg, Jack Stevens didn't have much option. Bit of a professional foul. And then from the resulting free kick, Alex McCarthy makes the save. But, the thing is I mean, rather than sort of making sure that the ball's sort of pushed away to safety, he just sort of knocks the ball out, if you like, to oncoming traffic. And the oncoming traffic all tended to be Arsenal attackers. So 2-0. I mean, the thing is, ladies and gents, we can't really talk too much about Saints because there's not a lot to talk about. Really I think there was one shot on goal from Shane Long, and that was about it. And all the talk beforehand about, Arsenal are in dire straits. Yep, they're in dire straits. But, the thing is as we found out, the Achilles heel again came back to haunt us, and that is that from next season, we need to be playing somewhere else other than St Mary's.
Well, I've got to be honest, Mark, I reckon we should rename it Vicarage Road because we haven't lost there since 2007.
I'm thinking we should just have a kickabout on the common, mate, to be fair.
Yeah, it's all right, lads. We changed the stadium this week. We're playing at ASC Tottenham. Might win there. We're playing at Eastleigh.
No, that is basically my whole take on it. It's disappointing from the fact that, there were certain players, obviously, that started the game again from the Norwich game, and you'd have to say that didn't step up to the mark. I mean,
exactly.
I'm not necessarily gonna have a go at Højbjerg, but I mean, Jan Valery, goodness knows where his form's gone this season. But like I say, at the end of the day, he's going through a rough patch. Every player does. Hopefully he can get this season out of the way. Personally, I don't think he's going to be coming back this season, so he probably get this season out of the way, and hopefully it's a clean slate for next season. And Michael Omofemi, I mean, we spoke about Michael before, needs to look up more when he's in possession of the football. There's no doubt that there's pace there and everything, but he needs to be more aware of what's around him on the pitch.
I think he needs to be more aware of what's around him off the pitch as well, Mark, to be fair.
But as I say, man, I don't really want to dwell on it too much, because that is basically what happened in a nutshell. It wasn't our finest hour. I'm sure there were many Saints fans out there that had greater expectations than myself. But the thing is you can't sort of discount Arsenal. I mean, the thing is 2 games ago you would have said they were out of the hunt for Europe. Now all of a sudden, they beat us, the one tonight, and you'd probably say they're back in the hunt, at least for the league place.
Disappointing thing for me was, you and I both know, we will accept Saints getting beaten if the effort's there. If the intensity's there, if the effort's there, if they put in 110% and they still lose, we'll be like, fair enough, the better team won. But when you're seeing a performance where it's not 100%, 10% commitment, and the intensity isn't there, you are disappointed. And when you've got a home record that's been as poor as Saints, to then add to that and make it only 13 wins out of the last 3 years, 13 wins in 72 matches, it's not good enough, is it? And we're all disappointed. We're deeply disappointed. No, we don't want to dwell on it, but Ralph himself said sloppy goals cost us, which I'd absolutely agree with. Definitely, for sure. He's maintaining faith in Alex McCarthy despite the fact he made a couple of errors. A little bit surprising. And even Ryan Bertrand, I think, has been quite honest and basically said, he basically said, no matter what you do, if you do make mistakes like that, you're going to get punished. Other than that, we definitely deserve something. But we gave him 2 goals. And he's probably right in that assessment, Ryan, to be fair. We did give him a couple of goals. It's quite an honest assessment. And the thing is, before this ended off, we were kind of in the game a little bit, I guess. But like you say, only 1 shot on target. Not good enough.
No, I mean, I don't. You can't really explain what the problem is at home, really. But you're right. It is disappointing. Given that the team should have been going in with a greater amount of confidence, given that Arsenal were in a and they still sort of are in a slump as a club. So it's very disappointing that we didn't sort of take the game more to them. I always expect that when you're the home side, you take the game to the opposition. There was no evidence of that at all. I mean, it was just really disappointing, mate, to be honest,
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up. The only thing I would add is that Ralph Hasenhüttl's actually said that Michael Obafemi needs to increase his workload. Yeah, he needs to increase his workload, Ralph, and he also needs to lay off the takeaways. If he does that, he'll probably do all right. So, yeah, it's interesting to me. Mark Ralph was saying that he feels Michael Obafemi should take better care of himself and increase his workload. He should certainly lay off the takeaways, I think, and definitely increase his workload. If he lays off the takeaways, he'll probably increase his workload. But yeah, that's pretty much all for me on the Arsenal game.
It's straightforward for me, really, Mark. All I would say is I'd farm him out next season. I mean, he's still young. I think he needs competitive games, not under 23 games. He needs to go, into the Championship, play some games there, and hopefully he comes back, with a better idea of what's required on the field and greater awareness. But because as a fourth striker, I just sort of sit there and think to myself, it also would probably give a chance to somebody like a Dan Larudu or somebody like that, or Lindeloo or whatever his name is. But it probably would give him, the chance to sort of step up. Just as a fourth striker, you're not going to be playing that often, because I do think that Shea Adams probably come next season, he's going to be ahead of Omofemi I know my family's going to need game time.
Yeah, for me, moving forward for the rest of the season, for me, Carl Walker-Peters has to play at right back for the rest of the season to have a look at him. And I think Shay Adams deserves to start and play for the rest of the season as well. Because I think they both deserve some chances now. You know, it's been proved that, unfortunately, the other players, like you say, Valerie's had a dip in form and Obafemi's not looking after himself. So I think it's only fair that those two get a run now, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in summary, for me, disappointing, but we move on to the next one. Right, we're just going to take a quick break and we'll be back after that.
The Two Saints Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday, 12 till 2 for informative football chat and great tunes.
Right, Two Saints review of Watford 1, Saints 3, Mark. Off you go.
Right, so basically for me, it was a game where you're thinking to yourself, we'll lose this, you know, and then the nerves kick in again. But thankfully, it was fairly convincing, I would say. I have probably a different opinion to a lot of people out there. I actually think one of the reasons why Vestergaard was able to control Troy Deeney so much was because Troy Deeney's heart doesn't seem, for me anyway, looking at him, his heart doesn't seem to be in, you know, the restart of the Premier League. And he seems to be thinking of, you know, things at home. And I think that's only natural given that he's got a son that's got a low immune system. But the thing is with Watford, normally he is the person that leads by example and leads the team, you know, and leads the club in many ways.
100%.
And you know, I just didn't think that his heart was in it. I thought his strike partner Sahar showed some brightness. I thought Watford were really, really physical. When it kind of went 2-0, did you not think that there was some fouls that Michael Oliver should have been clamping down on? I was really surprised at some of the fouls that he let go.
Yeah, I must admit, even given the conditions, I thought, I thought some of them are difficult. Some of them are dangerous, to be fair.
Yeah,
I mean, the one on Shay Adams on the edge of the penalty area springs to mind. That was a shocking tackle in those conditions, and if that wasn't worthy of a card, I don't know what was. To be fair, it was a shocking tackle.
I agree. But Mark, the other thing that I want to do briefly is just go through one or two of the players. So
Absolutely.
the standouts for me was, you know, I have to mention that Vestergaard, even though I say Troy Deeney to me looked like he, you know, his heart really wasn't in the game. You know, I've got to say Vestergaard marshalled him well enough, but the standout performers for me were probably Bednarek before he scored the own G. Kyle Walker-Peters had a good game.
Yep.
You have to say that. I thought that Price did well in the midfield. Danny Ings did his normal. But the one person that I'm going to mention, he came back in, and it was definitely his kind of game, right? And I keep saying this about him. He is still a vital cog in that squad. And he's a vital cog in that squad for Pacific games, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And this was one of the games that was specifically made for him, and that is Oriol Romeu. And I know you wanna. I know, but Oriol Romeu was my man of the match, and I know you want to speak about something that I was unaware of that you pointed out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I wasn't aware of it right immediately straight away, but it came to light after the game that Oriol Romeu had actually played 80 minutes of the game with a broken nose. So anybody that saw the challenge where one of the players came down and caught him on the way down, no intent there, but he actually broke his nose in the process, and he carried on, played 80 minutes with a broken nose. The man's an absolute warrior.
Yeah.
I don't know, he got through the game, seriously.
I mean, you know, I know we've spoke about this before, right? And, you know, there's six players, one of which is Højbjerg, which, you know, looks like he's going to be leaving the club. But of the other 5 players, the contracts are up next summer. You know, Oriol Romeu, you know, you'd have to give him, to me it's an imperative that they offer him a contract this summer. You know, they don't leave it till the contract run out. I'd actually offer him a contract this summer. And the other thing that I want to mention is you know, I've got to say that Ryan Bertrand was back to his reliable best on Sunday. You know, so and again, you know, it just follows on from what we were talking about in previous shows. You know, he's another person. Yes, he's a couple of years older, you know, older than Romeu. I think Ryan's 31 now. But I mean, in terms of what's available and what's out there and how the market's going to be, I think as long as we're offering those two contracts, I wouldn't worry about anybody else too much. It's going to be out of contract next.
No, absolutely right. Yeah, and for me, as much as Vestergaard had a good game, it's important to point out that the one weakness in his game that was showing up against Watford again, against other teams it has been before, is the fact that he's very slow on the ball. You know, he's quite ponderous when he's got the ball, and you know, if he moves the ball, and even Ralph was telling him from the sidelines to get rid of the ball quicker. Yeah. Move it quicker. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I actually believe that Vestergaard actually moves the ball slower than McCarthy does, and that's saying something because McCarthy's notoriously bad at getting the ball out quickly from feet. Vestergaard's actually worse at it, which is quite poor for a central defender. You know, you want your central defenders to be fairly assured on the ball. And I think one of the weaknesses we do have with centre-halves, apart from Bednarek, is they're not very assured on the ball, are they, unfortunately? No. And Yannick, unfortunately, is in that mould.
You know, you make a fantastic point, Mark, because if you watch, you know, the pictures halfway through the first half, you could see him actually turning around and say, you know, visibly turning around and saying to him, like, it needs to be quicker. It needs to be quicker. You know, and that is something hopefully that, you know, they can work on with him over the summer. Because I mean, I'm not saying, you know, that Vestergaard, you know, needs to be moved on. You know, I'm not going to say that because you have to have suitors to do that. You know, I think in fairness to him, he's probably still going to be here.
I mean, I think in fairness to him, if he can work on his weaknesses, and they're able to work on his weaknesses, and they do actually eliminate those weaknesses in his game, then we've got a half-decent centre-half there. But they do have to eliminate the bad points of his game. And unfortunately, I think it's not only him, it's been an issue for the team all season, the fact that there have been games where we've been very slow getting the ball out from the back, and it has cost us games. So it's not just the centre-halves, it's been a whole team mantra almost this season.
I mean, the one thing that I'd want to say in Vestergaard's defence is he did actually show that, you know, when he applies himself, he can be an aerial presence as a defender, because he did win his fair share of headers.
Yeah, I mean, my only question on that is he did win his fair share of headers. Would he have won quite as many if Troy Deeney was the normal Troy Deeney?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is you can only beat what's put in front of you.
Absolutely.
And thankfully, we've done it, mate. Thankfully, you know, because it was, you know, it was a bit like the Norwich game, you know, after the Arsenal result as well. It was a pivotal game, you know.
Well, the thing is, when Bednarek puts it in his own net, you're thinking, oh, here we go, we're going to blow this again, aren't we? And then obviously we get a free kick right on the edge of the area, up steps Ward-Prowse, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, it's in the back of the net, Ben Foster hasn't moved, Saints run out 3-1 winners and you're going happy days. Fantastic.
The strange thing about that, Mark, was Bednarek puts through his own goal, right? And it's in the middle of the end of the world weather, right? Yep. And you're sitting there and you're thinking, they're going to nick something right at the death here, you watch, you know? Yeah. And then, but it was a strange one, because even though, and I didn't even know this stat before the game, right? 21 games, James Ward-Prowse hadn't scored, and yet you look at him over this season, right? And if it wasn't for Danny Ings' goal-scoring exploits, right? And if it wasn't for James Ward-Prowse's all-round play, you know, and I'm combining the two, you know, we would be already relegated probably.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've got to be honest, not putting too fine a point on it, but the thing I want to say is, as soon as I seen where the free kick was, I thought, he's going to score here. I did actually think he's going to score, but I think he's 21 games without scoring. That's amazing.
But the comment I'd made about it was he's going to score here because the ball's going to be wet because of the conditions. So if he gets this on target, Foster's going to have a bit of an issue because that ball's going to be really slippery. But I had no idea what he was going to do with it. And no answer to that. He absolutely nailed it, didn't he?
It's the whip that he gets on it, mate. Absolutely. Because Foster didn't even see it. To be fair, he was still static when the ball hit the back.
Yeah, so fantastic free kick. And he's only one behind Matt Letizier's Premier League record mark, I do believe now.
Right, okay. Well, the other thing very quickly, and I just want to say, was, Danny Ings took his 2 goals well on Sunday. And, mate, all I'll say is, unlike probably some of the other players, he looks as fit as a fiddle. He does look. I know we lost against Arsenal, but I've got to say, since the Premier League's restarted, right? He looks like a lad that's just enjoying a kick about in the park with his mates. He's enjoying himself that much.
To be fair, since the restart, he's been outstanding at both ends of the pitch, and he's absolutely on fire.
100%.
Oh, absolutely! He's come back absolutely champion at the bit. He's absolutely on fire, and he's only a goal behind Jamie Vardy in the race for the Golden Boot. That's staggering in a team with very little service. To be fair to him,
it's true. Yeah, it's true. It'd be some accomplishment if he wins it, mate. Some accomplishment.
Can you imagine what he could have done this season with half decent service? Staggering. But no, it's fantastic. And a couple of quotes that I thought were really good. Kyle Walker beat as we wanted it more. Can't argue that. We definitely did, I would say, on the balance of play. Hassan Hutel saying we scored at the right moments. I'd absolutely agree with that, 100%. Can't really disagree with that. We did score at the right moments. We both reflected on the fact we thought they were going to sneak something, because I genuinely thought they did. When it went 2-1, I was thinking, oh, here we go. Here comes the implosion, the usual Saints thing of blowing it. But it's really good. And apparently Ralph Hasenhüttl was confident Danny Ings can overtake Jamie Vardy this year in the race for the Golden Boot. So that's quite a glowing tribute. And Ralph says, I think everything's possible. He's playing for the last 6 games. It means he'll have six games to score. So there we go.
It just shows, Mark, that you and Ralph obviously are on the same page, and he'll be calling you up to his coaching stuff.
But no, what I did like is if he gets the chance, you can see how fantastic his finishing is at the moment. He hits in that everywhere. And Ralph actually said he was very hard working in the shutdown, and that's given him the physical push. In fairness, Danny Ings has been working hard all season, hasn't he? He worked hard during the summer. He worked hard from the start of the season, and he's quite clearly worked hard during lockdown. And I think James Ward-Prowse has probably worked just as hard, to be fair, because both of them, their fitness is telling at the moment, isn't it?
It is, mate. The other thing I did want to mention as well, Mark, just briefly, and then we'll move on, okay, is that I just want to say one thing, right? It was great to see Will Smallbone get the assist, okay? But please don't play him on the right-hand side of the midfield. If you're going to play him in the middle of the park, because that is where he's most effective, in the middle of the park. He actually moved centrally for to give the assist. Yeah. He'd actually moved slightly more inside to give the assist, and I just thought when he was on the right hand side, as I say, he had a decent first half. He faded a lot in the second half. Maybe it was part of the plan to sort of bring on Stuart Armstrong when Watford's legs had gone a bit. And I think that was a good thing, because he created a few opportunities himself when he came on, Stuart Armstrong.
I must admit, I was a bit disappointed he didn't start, to be fair, because I felt with the momentum that Armstrong was getting, I would have preferred to keep him in, just to keep him in the vein of form he's in and keep that momentum going, because he's been an absolute threat since the restart. And he's looking some player at the moment.
Yeah, I agree, man. I just think at the end of the day, Ralph probably thought it was a good game for Will to get in there, having signed his new contract, get some more exposure in the first team as well.
And I agree.
And as I say, he did all right in the first half. It was just he looked like he was tiring badly for me in the second half. The other thing is, to be fair to him, is the right side of the midfield is not a familiar position to him. Like I said, he likes to be in the middle of the park where he's sort of controlling things and having a greater influence.
Well, you and I were fortunate enough to be at St Mary's for his first team debut against Huddersfield in the Cup, and he played in a central position then, didn't he? And he had a good game, and he was a good influence on the game, to be fair.
Yeah, he had an excellent.
I certainly agree with you that that's his preferred position, I would say, and that's definitely where he's at his strongest, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, for me, he's got good feet, he's got great touch, he's got good feet and good vision. So central midfield is where you want him, so that he can orchestrate things.
Yes, pull the strings.
Yeah, definitely. Right, that brings us to the end of that section of the show at the moment. So we're going to take a break now.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
Right, welcome back, everybody. Right, Saints Club news links. Hasenhüttl sheds light on Carl's and Kevin's chances of staying at Saints. Ralph reveals financial motivation to finish season strongly. Once a Saint, always a Saint. Saints fans flock to ex-Saints post. Where are we? Maya Yoshida, a touching tribute from Maya to Southampton fans. Matt Letizia and Ewan Thomas named ambassadors for Saints Foundation. And Ralph, we won't slow down now we've hit 40 points. And Nigerian defenders to sign new Southampton contract as well. That's really good news. And Saints poised to cash in on Liverpool's Premier League title win. So there's quite a few headlines there, quite a bit of content to get through, Mark. But we'll start with Ralph shedding light on Carl Walker-Peters and Kevin Danso's chances of remaining at Saints. So just briefly, Carl Walker-Peters has got 8 games to justify a summer move, according to the manager. He'll remain at St Mary's to the end of the season. Ralph said he hasn't decided on that one yet. In regards to Kevin Danso, it's also the same case for him. He joined Saints from Augsburg and someone will stay at St Mary's to the end of the current campaign. Probably only fair to do that with both of them, and I do think he needs to have a good look at them, doesn't he? Especially Danso. He brought him in as your Austrian Footballer of the Year, and I think he's only played about a game and a half, hasn't he, roughly?
But all I was going to say was Kyle Walker-Peters, that one's kind of straightforward. He knows now. Obviously, when that article came out, it was about 6 days ago now. But as I say, Ralph has since turned around and said that obviously Kyle's going to be given the opportunity of the next 6 games till the end of the season, so that they make a proper assessment about whether they're interested in a transfer deal for him. And I think that's right and proper. And let's see. I'm not making any judgment calls just yet, Mark. I think he did do well. Against Watford. And it was probably his best game. But hopefully he can build up a consistency over the next 6 games, and then Ralph will be able to make a proper assessment.
Yeah, for me personally, with KWP, for Carl Walker-Peters, for me, the 2 big games for me that are key are the 2 Man United, the 2 Manchester games, City and United. I think if he performs well in both of those, it's a better indicator, because that's a bit more of an acid test for me. He's up against far better quality opposition, and I think if you're a half decent player, those are the sort of games you'll stand out in. Yes, so if he's going to make an impression on the manager, it would be in those 2 games, I think.
I'd actually say it's the next 3, because I threw Everton in there as well, because our record there is appalling. So if he can make a good show for himself, then obviously it's going to be more. There's going to be more opportunity for him to get the transfer to Southampton.
I agree, absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally agree on that. He's got those 3 games, and if he stands out in those 3 games, then he's got a half decent player there, because those are going to be tough games. And even if the team lose, if he gives a good account of himself, he's probably done enough.
100%.
Wish him all the best, because Jan Valery's obviously clearly struggling at the moment.
Going to Kevin Danso, man. I mean, Kevin Danso, let's recall the history here. I know I beat the drum for him slightly, right? But I do feel like he's been thrown to the wolves. It's a strange one with the football club, because the football club have said that they want to do their business early again this year. We hear the same thing every year, but they're saying they want to get it done early because of the Kevin Danso situation this season. Obviously, he came in when the season was kind of already starting, so he didn't get a proper pre-season. I think people forget, he played against Brighton. He came in against Brighton and played left back and played really well. He played really well against Brighton. And I think, supporters need to remember that performance. And then you had a situation where the right back situation, he was playing there for a couple of games, And I only ever actually seen him play centre half. I think he got switched in the centre half against Fulham in the League Cup. And that was the only time I've seen him play centre half. And I'll just remind people, he's not a left back. He's not even a right back, really. He is a centre half,
Absolutely.
And I just think to myself, Austrian Footballer of the Year, I just think he's been thrown to the wolves a little bit. He maybe has been struggling with some injuries behind the scenes as well, Mark, to be fair to Ralph. But, as he said, he hasn't ruled anything out. And hopefully once we're safe, because I'd still like to get us 1 or 2 points before but hopefully he'll get the opportunity once we're safe to get a run of games and assess him in the same way of Kyle Walker-Peters.
I think those comments are more than fair enough. We'll move on to the next article now. Saints boss Ralph Hasenhüttl revealed financial motivation to finish the season strongly. So obviously he knows an excellent finish of the season will boost his transfer budget, which is kind of par for the course. I mean, for example, last season, if we'd actually finished 10th last season, we would have netted £20.9 million just for finishing 10th. So he's obviously aware of that. And obviously Premier League prize money, as we know, is quite good at the top end of the table. So it goes without saying, the further up the table we finish, the more money we're going to get, isn't it? So that's going to boost his transfer budget.
Yeah, I haven't got a problem with his comments, Mark. Not a problem at all, right? I agree with his comments. The thing is as long as he's given that money to reinvest, that's my issue. Because the thing is, the club said last summer, we will support, Ralph as much as we can, right? This summer, to me, slightly the next 2 summers are pivotal to us moving forward, and that includes recruitment of personnel and those who are leaving the football club. So it's a big summer coming up in the transfer window. He'll need all the help he can get, and as long as he's given all the cash, from hopefully what will be an excellent finish, because the further like you said, the further we push up the table, the more money hopefully he should have at his disposal. Which strengthens our hand a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping as well that this isn't the only reason they want to finish higher. I'm hoping they want to finish higher as a matter of pride, rather than thinking, the higher we finish, the more money we'll get. It goes hand in hand, though, doesn't it, to be fair?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to come on to that in a minute anyway, to be fair.
Right, moving on. Plenty of Southampton fans have been sending their best wishes to former Saints midfielder Morgan Schneiderlin after his announcement online that he was actually going back to France. So one of Les Bleus has gone back to France, hasn't he? I can only wish Morgan the best. I really, really liked him as a player when he was at Saints. I thought his passing range and his vision was fantastic. Was sad to see him go. And just sad it hasn't really worked out for him in England, Mark.
Well, I think the thing is like, if you were to ask Ronald Koeman and you were to ask Nigel Atkins and probably Pochettino, the thing is that he was some player when he was at the football club. And again, he was key along with the Adam Lallanas and the Ricky Lamberts. I think Morgan sometimes gets overlooked, when it comes to the promotions from League One and the Championship and everything like that, And I just think it's important that, we remember that Morgan was a key player for us. And, and he came in at a time, in fact, he was probably one of the last players we paid any money for, because he came in from Strasbourg, I believe, for £1 million. And he came as a 18, 19-year-old at the time. And, and he was key to the revival. Absolutely key to the revival. I think the problem for him is that Adam and Ricky stole the limelight, and really at the end of the day, Morgan was a class act when he was here. In fact, I would say the moves to United and the moves to Everton ruined him. You know, I would have loved for him to stay at the football club, but he wanted to further his career, and that's fair enough. But what a player he was for us! What a player!
Yeah, we can't argue that. I think, in fairness as well, a lot of people underestimated Morgan in his time on the South Coast, and while he was actually on the South Coast, just to flesh things out a bit, he actually scored 15 goals and provided 11 assists in 257 appearances for the club, and played over 19,000 minutes. So don't underestimate the accomplishments that he was when he was at Saints, and don't underestimate how much work he actually did do for the team. Unappreciated by a lot of people, Morgan, and a lot of people didn't appreciate the amount of work he did do for the team. And as you say, Lallana and Ricky Lambert got all the plaudits, but Morgan Schneiderlin, to be fair, did most of the spade work.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, just remember, you know, like Adam Lallana, he was on the ground when before everything started to take off. You know, in the championship season when we went down, you know, him, Lallana, you know, I think Drew Sherman, there was a lot of young players that were being exposed, and that probably put, you know, that exposure that season, although we went down, it put Morgan in good stead, because Morgan became one of the more experienced go-to players within the team, even when we were progressing up through the leagues. You know, and it's just a shame that we didn't get, you know, for him to stay for a couple of seasons, you know. But as I say, good luck to him. I'll miss him a lot. You know, I think he was really. I don't think he was underrated, but because of the nature of the other players that were there at the time, he doesn't. I don't think he tends to get mentioned in the same breath. But for me, he was as good as any of those players. He was as good as the Adam Lallanas and as good as the Ricky Lamberts.
Yeah. I wouldn't say underrated. I would say unappreciated. Not underrated at all. Certainly not underrated, but unappreciated.
Yeah.
Talking of players that were unappreciated at times, Maya Yoshida, sadly, his 8 years with Southampton has come to an end. He's penned a heartfelt message to Saints fans on Twitter. He joined Sampdoria on loan in January, with his St Mary's deal officially come to an end on June the 30th. That brings to an end an 8-year association with the South Coast club. He said his one regret was that he couldn't make a proper goodbye to his teammates, staff, friends and fans. And he said, but that's part of football. Don't forget we march on, he said. But Maya, fantastic servant to the club. Probably not the greatest footballer in some people's eyes, but a fantastic servant to the club. Couldn't doubt his commitment to the club, and was always there when we needed him. Mr. Dependable in a way, I guess you'd say. So yes. I wish him all the best in his future endeavours, Mark.
You know, when we needed someone to step in, especially at the back, you know, Matt did that, and you know, he was a scorer of some spectacular goals. I mean, I remember a goal that he scored. I think it actually was when Van Dijk made his return to the first team. We were away at Stoke, and it was a corner came in, and he did an absolute flying volley, and it just went searing into the roof of the net. I mean, the thing is with me for Matt is like, he stepped forward when he was needed. He was always patient, because I think he always understood that he wasn't always necessarily going to be first pick, right? And the thing is you have to talk about people in the way that they carry themselves, right? And consummate professional, those words always spring to mind with me, because it must have been frustrating some of the times, because I've got to say, some of the times, I don't think he necessarily covered himself with glory when he played at right back. I seem to remember away at Newcastle one time, it was a bit of a car crash. But what I would say is, certainly when he was at centre half, you know, and he was playing well at centre half, and then all of a sudden he'd get dropped, and you'd sort of think to yourself, he's having a purple patch, he's in the zone, what are you dropping him for, you know? But you know, all I would say is, great servant to the football club, always carried himself in the right way. You know, if people want examples of how to conduct yourself as a professional footballer, you know, that's it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Can't argue with that. So moving on from there, more good news coming out of the club regards to ambassadors for the Saints Foundation. They've now announced that Matt Le Tissier and Ewan Thomas have been named ambassadors as well now. So they're getting quite a dossier of people there, Mark, now, aren't they?
There is. Well, we had the Benalys a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And now we've got Matt Le Tissier and Ewan Thomas. And I've got to be honest with you, Mark, I thought that Ewan Thomas and Matt Le Tissier were already ambassadors for the Saints Foundation.
There you go.
Unless it's just ambassadors for the football club. But I actually thought... I certainly thought that Ewan Thomas was an ambassador for the Saints Foundation.
Probably for a lot of other stuff in Ewan's case, to be fair. But yeah, no, not Saints Foundation as yet, but he obviously is now, which is good.
Yeah.
Can't obviously doubt Matt Le Tissier's contribution to the club over the years, and there's no doubt in Matt's heart is in Southampton, and obviously Ewan Thomas as well. So it's good to have them both on board. They both do work quite hard for charitable organisations off the pitch, in other walks of life. So good to see them both doing that, to be fair.
Yes, no, I mean, all I would say is I don't need to say anything about Matt. We've seen what Matt's done during the pandemic as well. So I think it was only fitting that he becomes an ambassador for the Saints Foundation. Really, I know that Ewan's already been involved with one or two schemes in relation to the Saints Foundation, as well as I think he's actually an ambassador along with Matt. He's an ambassador for the football club. But yeah. I just want to tell you a story about Ewan Thomas, right? Ewan Thomas turned up at a game. It was the 5th round of the League Cup, or quarter-finals of the League Cup it was, and we were playing Bolton, and we lost. I think we lost on penalties, and he turned up with Chris Rowlands, the 400-metre hurdler, and of course they were both trying to be incognito. But of course, once the Saints fans realised it was Ewan Thomas, he got completely mobbed.
One of the things that Ewan's quite well known for is the fact that he's associated with the Big Sleep, which is an event they've done at St Mary's in support of homelessness, isn't it?
Yes,
and he's done that a couple of times now, and that's where people sleep out at St Mary's Stadium. So, and that's obviously in support of homelessness. So he's done that a couple of times now. So he's quite involved with that as well. And that's obviously an issue that's nationwide, isn't it? So not just in Orange City, sadly. So I think they'll both be really good ambassadors for the Saints Foundation. It's great to see.
Good news.
Just so you know, everyone at the Saints Foundation and Greg Baker yourself, me and Mark are available whenever you need us, all right? No, I do jest on that one. That's really good. So Ralph Hasenhüttl said, we won't slow down now we've hit 40 points, which is probably good news in a way, Mark. I'd like to see us push on a little bit, to be fair. And I'm not sure 40 points is quite out of the woods yet, is it? 43 would be a far better total, I think. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we can push on from now. I'd certainly like to think we will.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say about that was, Mark, last season, right, the players were obviously aware because Ralph had given them a benchmark of points that he wanted them to reach for safety. And as soon as we reached that benchmark, everyone was, because it was a home game, I seem to remember, and the players were actually celebrating on the pitch like we'd won a title or we'd won some sort of trophy. And the only problem with that was, I think there was 2 or 3 games left in the season, and we kind of down tools and got our beach towels out. So hopefully we don't have a repeat of that from last season, and the next 6 games we'll give all of them, a fair go. Because like I was saying earlier, the next three games are all very, very tough games, and then we've probably got our 3 winnable games. And I'd like to see us win at least one game of the 3 at home. I'd like us to at least win one game at home before the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, part of me thinks psychological barrier of 40 points. That psychological barrier is gone now to a degree. So I'm hoping it's going to be a case of they'll play with a little bit more freedom and they'll play slightly better, and the intensity will continue to the end of the season, rather than after the Lord Mayor show kind of thing where they kind of just go, well, we've hit 40 points now, and they take their foot off the gas.
Yeah, I mean, in general, you definitely hope that, because in general, apart from obviously the Arsenal game, the players look like they are enjoying it, but that comes through performing well and winning games of football. And if you're doing that, then obviously, it's a win-win, and you're winning games of football and you're moving up the league. So hopefully, at the end of the day, as I say, the next 3 games are really, really tough, in terms of who it's against, and also the fact that we don't have a great record at Everton, but hopefully it'll all go well. And if we can come out of those 3 games relatively unscathed, going into the last 3 are all winnable games. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And if nothing else, let's just make sure we beat Brighton and Bournemouth. Right, moving on. Good news, this one, actually, I think, Mark. And this will be good news for yourself. You've obviously spoken and waxed lyrical about this player, and obviously this is what you've had to say on that, and I think he's a half-decent player as well. So it's been exclusively reported that talented Nigerian defender Olade Olunfonwa has ended speculation over his future and agreed a new deal with Premier League side Southampton. He's put pen to paper on a new 2-year contract. He did that Wednesday afternoon. So as from 2:30 on Wednesday afternoon, he actually put pen to paper on a 2-year contract with Saints, which is great news, isn't it?
First of all, I've got to say, I just hope that the report's true. If it's true, it's fantastic news. Olunfonwa, for me, I mean, he is. I've got really big hopes for him, and I hope I'm not wrong, Yeah. But it was so important to tie him down to a new contract, and hopefully as well, just to mention, Nathan Teller's been getting a bit of exposure over the last few games since the restart, and hopefully that will encourage him to sign a new deal as well.
In fairness, actually, I was just going to mention the fact that former Arsenal schoolboys Nathan Teller and David Agbontohoma are the other players of Nigerian descent also offered new contracts ahead of next season by Saints. So we've actually got 3 players there of Nigerian descent, so there you go.
That's good news. Let's hope they sign on the dotted line. But like as I say, Olunfonwa for me was just it's a really important deal for me. 2 years, I believe he signed up for.
Yeah, 2 years. It's 2 years, and I can confirm that Nathan Teller and David Agbontohoma were actually offered new Saints contracts ahead of next season.
Okay.
So that's good news.
Right.
That is good news. Excellent.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy about it.
So, moving on. Saints are poised to cash in on Liverpool's Premier League title win. So, it says, basically, Southampton expect to earn around £2.5 million after title win triggers clause in contracts of former players. If £2.5 million is all we're going to get from all the players we sold to Liverpool, I think somebody needs to find Les Reed and kick him where it hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what is it, four players altogether from the, if you include Adam Lallana, Dejan Lovren, Sadio Mane, and I'm sure I'm missing someone there. But
Van Dijk, Van
Dijk. See, and I can't believe that you wouldn't have put a clause in where, Mane and Van Dijk themselves would have grossed you $2 million, because you would have put £1 million in if they win a Premier League title each. And I dare say, Lovren and Lallana, you would have followed suit. I mean, I've read varying degrees. In this article, it says $2.5 million, but I've also read some articles that say $3 million. But I mean, you're quite right, Mark. You probably would have been looking, 4 players, at least $4 million, maybe even $5 million.
Virgil van Dijk's transfer fee, allegedly, £75 million, right? And he makes up a proportion of that £2.5 million. The guy transferred out of the club for £75 million, and we get a quarter of £2.5 million for him. Absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, no, it does sound a little bit like peanuts. So maybe the deals weren't, as good as But then I never ever thought in relation to the Mane deal, for example, that we were getting full back from him. I mean, I always remember the bloke standing up at the forum after his first season with Saints, and this was like, not long into the new season, Koeman's last season, and the lad stood up at the very start of the forum, and he turned around and he said, and if Liverpool want Sadio Mane, tell them 50 million or clear off. And I think we ended up selling them for around 35 mil, which I thought was cheap, to be fair, but there you go.
38. Yeah, I think in total it's 38 million in the end. Nowhere near enough, to be fair. Absolutely nowhere near enough. But there we go. Right, well, that brings us to the end of that section of today's show. So we're going to take another break now, and when we come back, we'll be doing other football news links.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
Right, welcome back, everyone. So, other football news. Premier League clubs pay $263 million to agents in 2019-20. League 2 playoff final, Exeter 0, Northampton 4. Arjen Robben, Michael Jordan documentary-inspired Groningen comeback. Wigan Athletic in administration, Championship club set for 12-point deduction. So, back to the top. Premier League clubs pay $263 million to agents in 2019-20. League leaders Liverpool with the highest spending. They paid $30.3 million to agents between February 2019 and January 2020, but that was actually down on more than $13 million previous year. Man City 29 million and Man United 27.6 million were the next biggest spenders. Saints are actually down on that list in 20th place, and they've only spent 6.9 million on agents' fees. So kind of glad Saints aren't right near the top, but I would certainly think that, for me, it's more like working on commission. I think agents should get a percentage if their client secures a move to a bigger club on a bigger contract. Then, yeah, fair enough, they should probably get a percentage of that in commission in some way. But to actually have to be paid any sort of fee for securing any kind of deal up front is kind of wrong, in my opinion, Mark.
I mean, I think the issue for me is, and it's good news to hear that it's only something around 6 million that we've paid out. Although I'd like to see that half, to be honest with you, Mark. I still think that's probably 6 million too much. My attitude in terms of the agents is I recognise and realise that they probably help to facilitate moves, but they're doing it on behalf of their own clients. So I tend to think that rather than the club being, penalised in the sense of having to pay agents' fees, surely if a player's coming to a bigger club and the agents help facilitate that, then it's up to the player to pay the agent rather than the club paying the agent.
The thing is, for me, I don't feel that they should be getting these payments up front or whatever, or payments as agents as a fee, because, I mean, look at the situation in the Premier League now, and we all know how it works. Moves get facilitated by clubs tapping players up, players being tapped up in international duty, and by the press stirring up a hornet's nest. So I don't believe these agents are the ones that facilitate half these moves anymore. I believe it's more to do with the press and people from other clubs obviously tapping players up. I think it's a lot more to do with that than it is agents. So I just think doing away with agents' fees would be fair. I think they should scrap agents' fees. But I think they should just work on a commission basis.
I think you'll find that, I understand what you're saying about the media, but I think you'll find that the media gets tipped off by the agents, so the agents help to facilitate different articles, different stories about different players, especially those that are available, and then, what a news hound will do is, they'll link, say, one or two clubs. You see it all the time. You link one or two clubs to the player, and then that helps to facilitate the rumour mill, and then the agent makes the approach to the club saying this player's available if you are interested, and it moves on from there.
Well, I'll tell you what does surprise me as well. I mean, Saints obviously 20 of 6.9 million right now. This is a bit of a surprise because 4 places above them, Mark. Now, bear in mind the capacity of the stadium this club play at, okay? Bournemouth paid £9.5 million in agent fees.
as I say, the mind boggles, mate.
Really, 1,000-seater stadium.
Yeah, I can't work that one out, and I, the thing is like, have they actually signed anybody major, in the sense that, they always tend to bring in players who are from lower leagues. We've seen the lad Matt Clark come in from Portsmouth. We've seen the lad Jack, I can't remember what his surname is, but he came in from Luton Town. I think the only one that I can think of recently that would have came in for big money would have been the likes of Jefferson Lerma, who obviously, he's coming in from, I think it's Colombia or somewhere like that. But having said that, I mean, Harry Wilson moved on loan, and I sort of sit there and I think, well, was there a big agent fee involved there, even though he moved on loan because he's a Liverpool player?
I think for me, it's 3 players at Bournemouth that this amount is spread over, which is a staggering amount of agent fees, and it'll be Nathan Ake and Jordan.
But hang on, Mark. This is this season 2020, so 2019-2020, so it would be nothing to do with Nathan Ake.
I believe that's where it's come from. That's a carryover, I think, that you'll find the agents' fees have gone, because we're talking about players that probably cost a lot in agents' fees. Well, Jordan Ibe, Nathan Ake and Jefferson Lerma were probably the 3 highest profile players they've got.
And don't forget, Dominic, don't forget, because Bournemouth unfortunately have turned into the resting place of Liverpool youth players. Because you got Jordan Ibe, you got also Dominic. Don't forget Dominic Solanke, who hasn't been firing at all. I mean, he doesn't know what a net looks like as a striker.
Again, that would be another player who's on the permanent that would have cost him a fair bit in agents fees. Yeah. There you go. I think I it all down there. There you go. Very interesting one. Anyway, Premier League. League 2 playoffs. Exeter 0, Northampton 4. Exeter had a player sent off in the 59th minute. Northampton won out 4-0 winners. Pretty comfortable, wasn't it, in the end?
It was, yeah. I mean, the only reason I picked up on the story was obviously it's Keith Curle's actual first promotion. Bearing in mind, he's always working in and around League 2. So he's done great actually to get Northampton in the first place into the playoffs. That would be the first thing I would say. And I think they actually came in, they snuck in the last place, the 7th place or whatever it is for the playoffs. So, they came in as the lowest ranked team, and yet, they turned over a deficit. I think it's the first time where Cheltenham were 2-0 up from the first leg in their semi-final, and then they beat Cheltenham at Cheltenham 3-0, and then they've gone into this final. Bearing in mind that Exeter, I think, have been in the previous out of the last 5, they played in the previous 3 finals in the playoffs and missed out all 3 times. So they've had a hat-trick of losses, if you like. So Matt Taylor, who manages Exeter City, is probably hurting over that. But, I mean, I've got to say, on the day, Northampton run out, convincing winners. And also, there was 2 Saints players involved in the final, ex-Saints players involved in the final, Jordan Turnbull and Sam Hoskins, who both represented Southampton. Not sure whether they made their full debuts or not, but they both definitely represented Southampton. I remember seeing Sam Hoskins and Jordan both play in friendlies.
Jordan just reading as well.
Friendlies.
Took 11 minutes for the high balls to take effect, and Aaron Martins actually scored at both ends for Exeter within the last week. Yeah, Charlie Good cleared to Watson, who shifted the ball onto his left foot, calmly struck past Max did, with a shot that means, unfortunately, Aaron Martins actually scored at both ends for Exeter within the last week.
Okay.
There you go.
But, I would just like to say well done, Northampton, and good luck to Keith Curle as he tries to steer them through League One, although I think he's got a tough job on his hands there.
Absolutely. So moving on to the next article, Arjen Robben has actually come out of retirement and has launched a comeback with Groningen.
He has.
Showed a montage of basketball great Michael Jordan's career. And this was via a documentary featuring Michael Jordan called The Last Dance, which I've watched a little bit of. And it's all about kind of legacy, the Chicago Bulls legacy, and Michael Jordan wanting to help the club, help the team. An affinity with the team, wanting to help them. And with Arjen Robben, it's very similar with Groningen. Made his debut for them at 16, and he's gone back there. Obviously wants to help the club, and it's all kind of about the legacy. So I kind of see similarities between the Michael Jordan story and his in the fact that, this is where it all began for him, and that's where he's gone back there. Michael Jordan obviously famously quit Chicago Bulls, had a little go at Major League Baseball, didn't he, and then returned. So
yes.
Kind of shades of that, I think, to be fair, and I can see why. It's kind of, I can see how the two are kind of linked together, to be fair.
I mean, all I would say from my point of view is it's a little bit like a Mills and Bloom book in the sense that, the romantic in you, he started his career there at Groningen, he's gone back there. Obviously, he's watched the Michael Jordan documentary and he's been inspired by it. And I mean, I have a little bit of a soft spot for Dutch league football anyway, so I'll definitely be taking a big interest in how Groningen get on next season with Arjen Robben.
Yeah, he's been a fantastic player as well, and I think, to be fair, he's always wherever he's been in his career, he's always tried to make sure that he's done the best he could for the team, be it the Dutch team or be it anybody else he's played for, isn't it?
Yeah.
In that respect, I think in a way he'd probably see himself as a bit of a Michael Jordan type character, in the fact that you could probably argue that Michael Jordan probably carried the Chicago Bulls a fair bit, and Arjen Robben would probably argue he's probably carried the Dutch national team a fair bit. So, definitely more than one similarity in that story.
Yeah, good luck to him. If George Foreman can turn around and be winning world titles and boxing and everything else, then, let's hope that he actually prolongs his career. 36 these days isn't really that old, so let's see how it goes. But it's very rare, unless you're Ryan Giggs, it's very rare that you see an attacking player go beyond a certain age,
I'd agree with that. Yeah, no, I can't argue that. I mean, I think also it's important to highlight, because I noticed recently that a certain very well-known Italian by the name of Pirlo has obviously returned to Juventus at the moment. He's in the capacity for under-23s coach. So, that's obviously an attacking player who's gone back into football, but not in the playing capacity. So you're absolutely right there. Yeah, Andrea Pirlo has obviously gone back to Juventus, and he's under-23 coach, I believe. Right, moving on. Wigan Athletic, Mark, sadly in administration. They're set for a 12-point deduction.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say about this was I'm annoyed, mate, to be honest with you, because a Hong Kong-based consortium took them over in January of this year, and basically they've cut and run. They've basically pulled the plug in any investment in the club, or any sort of money going into the club. They've pulled the plug and hightailed it out of town, and the good people of Wigan have been left to pick up the pieces, if you like. So they've been appointed administrators. Although there was a select committee meeting today, and the danger is that obviously with the current pandemic, that this looks like it could be just the tip of the iceberg. That they're saying that there could be anything up to another 15 clubs that are in financial danger. And the thing is what I can't believe is the chief exec, whose name I forget at the minute, Richard Murray or something like that there. I mean, he was in front of a select committee today, right? And they asked him if he was in communication with the Football League, who would be Rick Parry. And he was asked, did have the Premier League offered any money to them, or have they been in dialogue? And the answer came back no. And he didn't actually say, whether the Premier League was willing to give some money to the EL clubs, like the English League clubs.
Fair enough. Yeah, so they were basically saying that regards the ownership of the club, there was supposed to be funds coming forward. That funding didn't arrive from the owners. They didn't know whether it was to do with the coronavirus situation or not. They just didn't know. And they also confirmed the administrators have got control over Wigan's stadium and training ground as well as the club itself. So in absolute dire straits by the sounds of it, and quite literally up the proverbial creek mark by the sounds of it as well, which is very sad to hear.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a club with 90-year-old, the club is, in terms of its age. And also, it's sad, bearing in mind that only 7 years ago, they were winning the FA Cup. They won the FA Cup for their first time in 2013. And it was a winning goal by Ben Watson.
It's wow, yeah, it's weird because it doesn't seem that long ago they were in the Premier League. To be fair,
no. As I said, it's a sad state of affairs, but
and yeah, I mean,
hopefully someone will come in and save the club. I mean, I always felt anyway that they were always going to struggle as soon as because Dave Whelan wasn't getting any younger, was he? And, he'd owned the club for a long time, and obviously he decided to sell it in 2018, so I always felt that, because he's obviously, it's his hometown club and stuff like that there, I always was worried that other people that were then stepping in and buying the football club may not have had as much of a vested interest in the club as what he had.
Definitely. Right, well, that brings us to the end of that section, and we're going to take a break now. And when we come back, we will do our Saints transfer news.
The Two Saints Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday, 12 till 2, for informative football chat and great tunes.
Right, welcome back, everyone. Saints transfer news. Report: Southampton agreed to loan out big name player rather than sell. Some say it's my turn. Joachim Marlow comments amid talk of Burnley and Saints offers. Make it happen, Levy. Some Spurs fans amazed by a 20 million stars display and want him signed. Southampton make bid for a 10 million man. He wants to move to the Premier League. Wants to move to Saints over Premier League rivals. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg fancies Tottenham move. Spurs confident of deal. Elyounoussi set to return to Celtic. No Celtic move for Forster as keeper opts to stay at Saints. So, beginning with the first story, Mark, which is Southampton agreeing to loan out Mario Lemina to Galatasaray again rather than selling him. What a surprise. I didn't see that one.
All I would say is here that it is a major disappointment that yet again, rather than a permanent transfer, right? And we've covered this extensively in the last 12 months, Mark, right? I mean, talk of a £9 million deal, then it was an £8 million deal, and now we're loaning them back out again. And I just sort of sit there and I think to myself, either interested or not interested. While I admit that he may not be worth the money that we paid for him, I do think there is a monetary value with him, unlike some of the other players.
What annoys me, Mark, is the value they actually value him at. Galatasaray actually said, we can't pay 18, we'd rather pay 9. What, now they don't want to pay 9 either? I mean, seriously, it's ridiculous.
I mean, even they were talking about paying 8, but obviously now that isn't happening, and it looks like he's going back out ridiculous. On loan to them again. I mean...
Yeah, but it doesn't solve the problem, does it?
It's a fiasco.
It gets him out of the door in regards to he can't cause unrest in the dressing room or around the training ground. It doesn't get him off the club's books, does it? So it still doesn't solve the problem.
No, I mean, and I would have thought that we're still paying it for... I mean, although I would probably think Galatasaray is paying the majority of his wages, I'd still say we're paying around about half, 40%, something like that.
I mean, for me, Mario, it's very simple. It's as simple as this. If you're talking about Mario Lemina, you want to take a very well-known song from The Sound of Music and change the words of one of the lines to "How do you solve a problem like Lemina?"
But anyway, So the thing is, I always suspected that this was on the cards, though, Mark. When Galatasaray was going, no, we can't afford that, we can't afford this, right? And the club obviously are desperate just to keep him away from Southampton altogether, because they're just thinking, bad egg, don't want him back at all. The longer we can keep him away, the better, because he's a disruptive influence. That's how I see it. I mean, I've always made no secret that I think there is a player there, but you don't see enough of it.
I'll tell you what frustrates me.
Too inconsistent.
I'll tell you what frustrates me with all this, right? All this stuff about Eddie Newsey's going back out on loan, Lamini's going back out on loan, blah, blah, blah. I think back to Dani Osvaldo when we signed him, right? Signed him for a big fee, okay? Yeah. He does one thing wrong at the club and we marched him out the door. We practically tore up his contract on the spot. Yeah. And you're looking at Lamina and some of the other players at the club and you're thinking, have these guys literally got to commit murder before the club actually go, we're going to sell them, we've had enough? Or are they going to just tear up?
It's not, the thing is though, it's not the same thing. These are people that, we're having difficulty being able to sell on because they haven't really achieved at the football club. All these players that we're talking about, whereas the Dani Osvaldo situation was more to do with the fact that he assaulted one of his own teammates during a training session, and he did assault them. I think you forget what actually happened.
No, I don't.
And that was the reason why the contract was torn up, because that contract ended up costing, they reckon that contract and the fact that it was torn up ended up costing Southampton something like £9 million just for tearing the contract up.
My point on that was he'd not exactly made an impact, and your argument could be that some of these other players haven't made an impact either. But anyway, moving on. Reported Southampton and Burnley target Joachim Mahler, here we go again, says he isn't going to force a transfer away from Genk despite speculation over his future. That's cool. We've probably moved on from you, Joachim, because your valuation's gone up and down. It's gone from 7.5 to 11.5 to God knows what it is now, and whatever have you. Thank you very much and good night. Moving on.
Hang on. Whoa, hang on a minute. You can't do that. This is one of the star catches that you wanted to get in.
You and me both thought he was coming on. You and me both wanted to sign him, but it's gone on for so long, Mark. This is turning into a David Astori situation again. How many more times are we going to hear the name Joachim Mahler? Is his medical going to go on as long as Matt Holland's did?
To be honest with you, Mark, I don't think Joachim Mahler's going to cost as much as they're reporting in that article, right? I genuinely don't. And the thing is like you and I both know that if Kyle Walker-Peters doesn't work out as a right back, the club need to look at other options that are available to him. It's like what we said about the Dutch lad Zeefuig. The thing is they've got to look at the situation and look what's going to serve them best. Now, at the minute, Kyle Walker-Peters, as I look at it, he's kind of in the box seat if he wants to sort of sign for the football club or the club want him, right? But he needs to put the performances in. But then on the back burner, you've also got to be looking around at other people, and it's obvious that Saints are looking at this Belgium right back, and they're looking at, or he's Danish, but he plays in the Belgium league. They're looking at this Danish right back, and they're also looking at this Dutch right back, because the thing is, again, it comes down to cheap alternatives too, because the market is going to be fairly depressed in the summer, let's be honest.
The only thing that's bothering me about it is just pure frustration with some of these deals, because it's just like Saints keep saying, we want to get our business done early, blah, blah, blah. We haven't got a lot of a transfer kit at the moment, there's not a lot of money available. Either generate some money and sign these players, or don't. I get so frustrated at times, because for me, we seem to be the one club, Mark, with transfers that just faff about. Other people seem to get them over the line within 5-10 minutes. You know what I mean? Literally, that's metaphorically speaking. We seem to take forever and a day to get a signing over the line. The amount of time it takes deals just seems absolutely staggering at times.
It's just patience, mate. It's just about having a degree of patience.
We always seem to just faff about. Whenever we say, we're going to do our business early, we never do. We never, ever do our business early. It's always last minute. This is why we end up with these panic signings at times sometimes. Stephen Corker, when we signed him, that wasn't a legit signing. That was a panic buy. A panic loan, sorry. It wasn't even a buy, was it?
No.
Anyway, moving on to the next one. Some Spurs fans amazed by Danny Ings' display and want him signed. I think, like Liverpool, they've had quite enough out of us already, don't you?
I picked up on this one especially for you, Mark, because I knew you would. I mean, like, at the end of the day, it just made me chuckle. So I threw it in there and I thought to myself, yeah, you're going to sign Danny Ings. Not a chance.
I think he's worth more than 20 million quid. His stock's gone up considerably for me, given what we signed him for. Given the performance he's put in this season, he's worth a lot more than 20 million.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I would say for the performances he put in this season, I wouldn't even consider, you know, a transfer until someone was talking around 80 million to 100 million pounds. And I'm not even blinking when I say that. That's being genuinely honest about it.
Yes. Right, moving on from there. Southampton make bid for 10 million man. He wants Saints move over Premier League rivals. However, Saints have been snubbed after making a low ball bid, there's a surprise, for Real Valladolid defender Mohamed Salisu, with France Football claiming Saints offer fell short of his 10 million release clause. That's quite worrying in itself. The 20-year-old Ghanaian might already feel like a bargain in an age where talented centre-halves tend to command ridiculous transfer fees.
Right.
So apparently they've been knocked back because they made an offer that was below 10 million, so classed as derogatory, I'm guessing.
Correct.
Why am I not even surprised? Why do we keep trying to lowball people? I mean, really?
Right. So basically, this is my turn to get annoyed, Mark. Right. They know what the release clause is. The release clause is around 10 million quid. Right. And Southampton have offered lower than that. Right. And what is the most frustrating thing is all the reports are saying that Southampton is his preferred option. He wants to come to the Premier League and he wants to come to Southampton Football Club, right? And I just sort of sit there and I think to myself, there's the price, right? You either want to pay the price and you want to get the player or you don't, right? I personally think this deal is very relevant because as I pointed out in previous shows before, right, we need a fourth central defender, okay? Because Maya went in the summer. Or Maya went, in the January to Sampdoria, right? And that only leaves you with 3 senior centre halves, right? And I believe we need a fourth one now. Okay, he's young, he's a bit raw, but he is what we're kind of looking at. You know, we talked about Axel Desai, and as I say, either one of those two definitely I would have over the summer. And they need to get it done. You know, they need to decide whether they're being serious about these players. It's about being serious. Why lowball somebody when you know what the release clause is, but you turn around and you go, well, we can offer this. Would you accept this? You know what the price is.
What I was making about Joachim Mahler, either pay the money and get the players in or don't. Just stop faffing about. We're brilliant at it. We are brilliant at faffing about.
What disappoints me more is the fact is the player actually wants to come. He's already stated that his preferred option destination Southampton Football Club, and yet we're mucking about.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, moving on.
Get Emil Højbjerg fancies Tottenham move. Spurs are confident of a deal. According to the Telegraph, Tottenham Hotspur are confident of signing Saints midfielder Pierre-Emile Højbjerg this summer. He's claimed that he favours a move to Tottenham over any other. It was also reported by the Telegraph last month Everton also want to sign him. Teams today prefer Spurs to Everton and looks likely to move on this summer with just 1 year left on his Saints contract. No, Tottenham allegedly hope to drive the price down. May be tempted to offer right back Kyle Walker-Peters to Saints in part exchange deal. Yep, or they might even offer Eric Dyer. You never know.
But anyway, I'm sorry, I don't want to burst your bubble, mate. You need to go on the BBC Sport website because Eric Dyer's signing a new contract with Spurs. And anyway, just dealing with that one, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I'll just restate what I restated a couple of weeks ago, right, is, you know, if Kyle Walker-Peters does the job for us, that's fine. You know, you can include him in a deal. But I still say that there has to be some money coming Saints' way, somewhere between anything between 5 million and 10 million pound, as well as Kyle Walker-Peters.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I've said pretty much everything I want to say about the Pierre-Emile Højbjerg situation because this is one of those ones that's just rumbled on and it's getting a bit repetitive now and it's just more faffing about. You know, it's like signing players is as bad as getting rid of players. We faff about when it comes to signing them. We faff about when it comes to signing them. Ridiculous. Anyway, moving on. Maybe Elyounoussi set for a return to Celtic, Mark. It's been confirmed, and we know that's happened because it has actually been confirmed that he has actually rejoined them on loan again.
Yeah, basically I think it's a good move. I know you're probably not happy with it being a loan deal. I'm going to throw a few things into the mix here for you, which hopefully will spice it up a little bit for you. But there's actually, I read a report today, right, that Elyounoussi going to Celtic may facilitate Angus Gunn going there for the season, and us getting Nishan in return, maybe on loan for the season. I mean, given the current economic climate with the transfers, Mark, I don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing. I mean, Angus Gunn wants game time, yeah, and we're talking around about the same kind of wage that Celtic would be offering, £35,000. Because don't forget as well that Elyounoussi, thankfully, is going to be in budget for Celtic, right? Whereas the Fraser Foster deal, which we're going to come on to in a minute, that was always going to be problematic because of the wages. Because as we discussed off sort of show, the thing is that he would have been looking for a payment from Saints to get out of the contract, for Saints basically to pay him off. Saints in the current economic climate probably don't want to pay him off. So that's probably, facilitates the next article. But like I said, if it's a case of the Angus Gunn moving up there on loan, which is being mooted at the moment, and that sort of helps to facilitate, all I'm saying is if Angus moves there, Elyounoussi moves there on loan as well. If that helps to facilitate Nisham coming down for a season and us having a look at him on a loan deal for the whole season, then I'm quite happy to do that. And if we can arrange transfers sometime in the future, that's great as well, if everybody's on a win-win.
Yep, that's fair enough. Right, moving on. No Celtic move for Fraser Forster as he opts to stay at Saints. So it's been reported he's decided to fight for a first-team place at Southampton. He'll not be signing for Celtic this summer after he decided to remain at Saints. The goalkeeper, who excelled during his loan spell at Parkhead last season, looks set to rejoin them at Celtic on a further year-long loan, with them having the option to buy. However, following discussions with Saints hierarchy, Forster has opted to stay at Saints.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has come about really because of the news about Angus Gunn last week he's basically requested that he gets sent down on loan next season. I mean, his preferred option at the time was, in the article said that he'd be quite happy to go out the Championship side. And then obviously, as I said previously, there's been this article about him maybe being loaned out to Celtic by Saints. So the thing is I think with the news that he wants to be playing game time and he's not guaranteed that he's going to be getting game time with Saints, obviously we're now faced with a situation where we're going to have our two most senior goalkeepers vying for the number one spot next season. That's probably more preferable. Although I'm not, I've already stated before, I'm not comfortable shelling out the wages that we are, because Fraser's believed to be on 70 grand a week, and Alex McCarthy's, he signed a new deal last summer for 60 grand a week, so that's 130 grand a week between two players.
Right, that brings us to the end of that section, and we're going to take our last break of the show today, and when we come back, we'll be doing our Two Saints preview of Saints versus Man City.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints show.
That was Niles Barkley with Crazy. Right, welcome back everybody. So, the Two Saints preview of Saints versus Man City. Obviously, last time we played them, we lost 2-1. James Ward-Prowse scoring in the 13th minute. Goals from Sergio Aguero and Kyle Walker winning it for them. Their winning goal coming in the 86th minute.
Yeah, I mean...
tough one, Mark, isn't it?
Yeah, just to say, the preview for me is fairly straightforward, Mark. Last result, I was there. Desperately unlucky not to come away with something from the game. You know, it was a bit of a kick in the teeth job, to be honest. But having said that, looking at the preview of this game, I'm not hopeful, if I'm honest. I mean, our own form isn't great. I think personally that Guardiola's going to be looking at his Man City charges and basically saying, you know, we've lost the title to Liverpool, but I want you to win every game remaining in the season, and that's Cup and that's the FA Cup and the league. You know, I think he set them the target of winning every game till the end of the season, and then obviously they'll have the break for a little while, and then obviously they'll be playing the Champions League, you know, games that they've still got to play. And I think obviously he'll want to keep the momentum going because of that, because, you know, I think in terms of trophies, he's obviously looking at the FA Cup game and the Champions League.
Yep. Oh, I think you're right. I can't really argue that. It's going to be difficult. I mean,
because I can't imagine he's happy losing the title to Liverpool.
Well, no, they've had to do a guard of honour as well, won't they? Which is that's going to really rub salt into the wound. So yeah, no, for me it's going to be very tough. I think Saints are capable of beating anyone away from home if they're on their game, which they've already proven with their away form this season. Record 8 wins in the Premier League away from home. If you play Man City away, you've got a chance of getting some sort of result if you're really on your game, but you have to play, as Ralph Hassan would say, a perfect game, and I'm not sure we've got that in us this season against Man City. For me, it's a tough afternoon, and it's probably going to be 3-0 to City.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I say, Sunday is going to be tough. The way I basically look at it is just gotta try keep it as tight as possible. But I think you got to try and be expansive as well. I think you got to try and take the game to them. I think if you just sit in and try and hit them on the counter, I think that's even worse, because we've seen with Newcastle last weekend, you know, they tried to sit in the cup and it didn't really work for them. But having said that, all I'm going to say, Mark, is it'll take, for us to get anything from the game, it'll take everybody to be bringing their A game on Sunday. But I'm going to go for a 3-1 loss.
I'm going for 3-0 City. The thing is, as well, I think, regards to Saints, I was brought up with watching Saints teams that whenever they played against the big teams, we're always up and at them. We always went out and attacked big teams, and it always served us quite well. And I think there's been a kind of reversing mentality over years at Saints with regards to when we play big teams. We don't tend to attack them too often. And the thing is, when we've gone up against big teams at home when we've attacked them, we've actually come out on top. The likes of Man United, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Everton, teams like that, we've actually battled quite hard with against at home, and we've come out on top because we've played a far more intense game, and we've actually had a good go at them. We've attacked them, and we always seen a benefit against the big teams when we attack them. We always seen them perform quite well. But I think for a few years now, it's been a case of we don't really attack the big teams like we used to, and that for me is an issue. So I'm going 3-0 City. Unfortunately, I just think they're going to be too good for us.
Well, as I say, from my own point of view, it's just the case that, you got to be honest about the current situation, mate. I mean, the thing is you can't compare yesteryear, because all I would say to you is City could put their second string 11 out and they'd still probably beat us, and that's the reality. So, as I say, I'm going for a 3-1 loss, but hopefully we can get, obviously my fingers are always crossed that we can get something from the game. But I do think that in terms of just digging in and defending, I don't think you're going to get anything that way. I think there is a degree of actually having to take the game to them. to try and be a little bit more expansive on the ball. But we'll see what happens on Sunday.
And just a quick reminder to everyone, you can go onto our Facebook page, Two Saints Show, and you can request our podcast sent to you directly by messaging us on there. That's Two Saints Show on Facebook. We also have our YouTube channel, the Two Saints Podcast Show. Feel free to go on there, subscribe. It won't cost you anything. You can leave positive and negative comments there. Give us some feedback. Let us know we're doing stuff that you guys enjoy and what sort of content you'd like to see. Right, that's it from me.
Yeah, and it's goodbye from me. All I want to do is turn around and say to all the listeners to stay safe, look after each other, and also I'd like to put a word of thanks out there to everybody who shared the pod on social media and allowed us to put it out to all the different Saints groups. It's very, very much appreciated by everybody. Big thanks for that, basically.
Absolutely. Right, well, all I'm going to say now is join us again next week when the Two Saints go marching in again.